At the Broadway Centrum, a young couple who was driving by a notorious area in our country's capital suddenly found their car broken. The guy gets out and tries to fix it, but to no avail. He mentions something about a gasoline station a mile back. Before leaving to ask for help, he warns his girlfriend always to keep the car stores locked. After an hour, a man approaches the car and encircles it, scaring the girl. The girl honks the car horns as soon as the man starts banging on the windshield. The man leaves only to return 20 minutes later. He goes by the window and raises something in his right hand. Much to the girl's shock, it's her boyfriend's decapitated head. Then she was even more horrified by what he raised in his left hand. Her boyfriend's car keys. The next day, the police find her inside the car alone, screaming and laughing wildly, driven insane by some unknown terror. Legs. A newly married couple moved in a nearby neighborhood. The first few months of their stay were uneventful, but as time went on, the wife noticed that the husband was coming home later than usual, making her suspicious of him. One night, the wife was awakened by the sound of heavy footsteps on their carpet. Knowing that it's her husband, she decided to give him the cold shoulder by pretending to be asleep. She felt him lie down beside her and place his arm over her neck, which felt heavier than normal. She had enough, and she lifted his arm and saw the leg of a horse. Elevator 1. A doctor was riding down the elevator to his office on the 4th floor. Next to him was another patient. The elevator soon stopped on the 8th floor. When the doors opened, a young boy stood in front of them. "Going down?" the young boy asked. The doctor gave him a good look before answering. "No, this is going up." He pressed the button to close the doors. The patient beside him asked, "Why didn't you let him ride with us? This car's going down anyway." "He was already dead. He was a patient who died a week ago because of leukemia," the doctor answered. "How do you know he's dead?" the patient beside him asked. "Well, if he had a blue tag on his left wrist, that means that he's dead and marked for the morgue." "Oh, you mean like this?" The patient shows the doctor the blue tag on her left wrist. Elevator 2. A man who was working in a 12-story building found himself going home later than usual due to overtime. He entered the button and pushed the button to go down to the ground floor. Upon reaching the 7th floor, the elevator stopped. The doors opened, revealing a dark corridor, and a girl's face peered out from the side of the door. "Going up?" she asked. "No, this is going down." "Thank you." With that, she left. Upon reaching the lobby, the man asked the guard who the woman was. The guard answered, "There are no offices on the 7th floor. It's all vacant. You must have seen the manager's daughter. Sad story. She committed suicide by jumping off from the 12th floor. Upon reaching the 7th floor, she got decapitated." The man's jaw dropped. The guard continued his tale, "Which is why you only see her head when she peers into the elevator." Two teachers found it difficult to head back home since they got stranded in the school during the middle of a typhoon. So they decided to just sleep in one of the classrooms. They asked the guard for a key to a room, which he provided. As they were coming up the stairs, they started talking about ghost stories. "Hey, do you know the ghost that haunts this particular floor?" "Huh? What does it look like?" "Well, it's dressed in white and it has red eyes." Suddenly, they heard a thud in one of the locked rooms. One of them went to investigate. She peered into the keyhole and saw the color red. Piano. Two siblings, a younger brother and an older sister, were left alone in the middle of the night as their parents left for an emergency call at the hospital. A little past midnight, the boy awoke to a peculiar sound coming from the living room. Without waking up his sister, he went downstairs to investigate. As he reached into the living room, he saw the piano was playing music without anyone on it. He went closer to take a look, and he saw that the keys were moving by themselves. Spooked, he went back upstairs and forced himself to sleep. The next day, he narrated it to his older sister, who replied, "You know, last night I had a dream that I was playing that piano." A girl whom we will refer to as Girl 1, and one of the oldest universities here in the PH, excused herself in the middle of class for a short bathroom break. As she was washing her face, another girl, Girl 2, came out of one of the cubicles and walked to the faucet beside her and asked her for some lipstick. She even complimented it, saying, "I love your lipstick. It looks like the color of blood." Annoyed that someone hotly was borrowing her personal makeup, and the fact that Girl 2 seemed prettier with her black hair and deep-set eyes, she took her lipstick and slammed it in front of Girl 2 with a rude remark. "Yeah, you could use a little color. You're pale as a sheet. Would you like my eyeshadow too?" she said with obvious sarcasm. Girl 2 simply took the lipstick and returned it to her after applying a thick coat of it to her lips. As Girl 1 was leaving, Girl 2 asked, "Am I pretty?" Now furious, she turned back to Girl 2 to take a good look at her from head to toe. As her eyes started reaching to her feet, she saw what chilled her blood. Girl 2 was floating on midair. Jeepney ride. A student hurried to catch the last jeep that was leaving for the dorms. A few minutes later, she was the only person on board, and they were only a few more meters to her dorm. Suddenly, the driver changed course, heading through a much longer path. The girl reminded the driver to just drop her off at the dorm, and after a few more minutes of driving, they found themselves back at the original route where the driver was supposed to drop her off, to which he did. But before alighting, the driver called out to her, saying, "Miss, if you get home, please take off your clothes immediately and please burn them or throw them away. I changed clothes earlier to avoid disaster because when I looked at you into the mirror, you had no head." The girl did as she was told. The next day, the girl woke up and switched on the news that reported that the driver of the Jeep she had gotten into had met an accident last night. Just a few hours after dropping her off, apparently, the warning was not for her, but for the driver. A couple who was part of a mountain hiking team went with their friends to go hiking up the steep slopes of Sierra Madre, a mountain range here in Phil. At the base, the girl slipped on her way out of the comfort room, and due to the sprain she suffered, she was forced to stay back and wait for her boyfriend and her team to come home. Unfortunately, a heavy rain fell, stranding the team. The next afternoon, she saw her team enter the large room they had rented for accommodation. Everyone except her boyfriend was present. She asked one of the team leaders about it, and he said, "There was a landslide at the mountain. He was our only casualty. We could not even retrieve his body." The girl cried all night. At midnight, she woke up to the sound of someone in the kitchen. She tiptoed past her sleeping team members and checked downstairs. To her surprise, her boyfriend was there, looking for some water. When he saw her, he approached her and said, "Baby, there is a landslide at the mountains. I'm the only survivor." Empty streets. A girl had just alighted from the train and was coming out of the subway. It was raining heavily outside, so she hurriedly took out her umbrella. She noticed the huge crowd walking around the avenue with her were not wearing any sort of rain gear or even an umbrella. She had a hard time getting through as she had to avoid bumping into anyone. A few minutes later, a taxi pulled over beside her, insisting that she get in. The driver seemed pretty insistent, so she obeyed. After they left the avenue, the driver turned back to her, saying, "Well, when I saw you walking like you was trying to avoid bumping into anyone in an empty street, I figured I should lend a hand, before you went loopy." Respect. A bunch of medical students were learning about cadavers while in the morgue with their instructor. Their instructor soon leaves the room after he receives an urgent call. After a few minutes, and he is still not returned, the other people start fooling around in the morgue. One of them even uses the arm of a cadaver as an ashtray, explaining, "I'm sure he won't mind." Suddenly, the corpse stands up, took the cigarette from the boy's mouth, and throws it away, saying, "Please have some respect for the dead." Following was a bunch of some urban legends from some guy's house. Not house. Here's what the wiki says. The creepypasta wiki. It says, collection of short stories, PH, which I assume means Philadelphia or something. Or the Philippines. Probably Philadelphia, though. Thanks, I guess, for watching. And sorry I sound like shit. That's all I have to say. Peace, love, hold a grudge. Bye!